Tonight we are looking at 3 horrifying caving stories that went horribly wrong. In Slovenia, 600 meters of rope starts to spin. In France, a fist of stone finds one helmet. And in Yorkshire, the floor keeps a 5th secret. Each story starts with confidence and ends in chaos. As always, viewer discretion is advised. This is Cavern Depths. 3 real caves, 3 stories that went wrong. The first one begins now. On June 21st, 2026, Nika Oblak clipped her descender to the rope above Vrtiglavica, the deepest single vertical drop in any cave on Earth, 603 meters of cold, free-hanging nothing under a hole in the Kanin. The name means vertigo. It is not a metaphor. She was second of a team of 4 on the classic bounce. Rappel the shaft, touch the cairn at the floor, climb home. Nika was 26, a vertical caver from Bovec with a small frame and 500 pitches behind her, who had trained on this mountain since 16 and still carved a notch in her grandfather's walking stick after every trip. Her habit was the stillness drill. At the first sign of anything wrong on rope, hands off everything, 30 full seconds of doing nothing at all. A rope this long, her club taught, is a pendulum, a spring, and a screw all at once, and every one of them feeds on movement. The rig was flawless. A single 600-meter rope, new that season, free of the wall almost the whole way. What she didn't know, a rope that has never been loaded to its full length carries its factory twist coiled inside it like a wound clock, and 600 meters of it stores a lot of clock. The first 200 meters ran like silk, the rope hissing through her rack, stones clattering far below, her light a single moving point on walls 40 meters away. Nothing went wrong up high because, up high, the twist below her still had somewhere to go. She passed 300 meters on schedule, halfway, deeper on one rope than most cavers go in a career. What she didn't know, the twist had stopped going anywhere. At 340 meters, that is when the rope failed to stay a rope, because the stored twist began to pay itself out through the only machine available, and the machine was her, and Vrtiglavica began, slowly and then not slowly, to spin. The walls became a carousel. Her rack wound the turning rope into a kink against the bars. Somewhere in the first 60 rotations, her inner ear resigned, and up and down became opinions. Here is what you need to understand about spin on a long free hang. It is not dizziness, it is instrument failure. The organ that tells a human which way is down reads rotation as tumbling, floods the body with wrongness, and the hands, desperate to fix something, grab and pull and feed the spin exactly the movement it feeds on. A caver fights a spinning rope and winds it tighter. The rope only answers stillness. Panic spins at 60 rotations a minute. The descent had failed. The rack was kinked. Her stomach had surrendered. The floor was 300 meters of carousel away. Because this is the arithmetic of vertigo on rope. A disoriented caver who keeps operating a descender makes her next mistake within minutes, and at 340 meters, Vrtiglavica does not grade mistakes on a curve. Watch a drill rehearsed 100 times on ropes 10 meters long. She took her hands off everything and shut her eyes against the carousel. 30 full seconds, counted out loud into the dark, while the spin fed on nothing and began, rotation by rotation, to starve. Then the second verse of the drill. She locked off with a click, hung a sling from her harness as a damper, and let the last of the clock unwind through the kink at half speed, her eyes fixed on the one light of the caver waiting far above. Put yourself on that rope for 1 minute of it. A world rotating past your shut eyes, a stomach voting to leave, hands screaming to grab the rope and fix it, and the arithmetic of 30 seconds of chosen helplessness against every instinct evolution ever gave you.
The spin died at 4 minutes. The kink came out of the rack 1 bar at a time. She finished the descent with a sling damper trailing and her eyes on the wall, touched the cairn, and sat against it 10 minutes before she started up. The climb out took 4 hours and turned with the rope's new memory, gently, the whole way. She surfaced into the alpine evening 1 hour late, to 3 headlamps and nobody joking yet. The club log recorded severe rotation at 340 meters on an unstretched rope, a caver trapped in spin for 4 minutes and self-recovered by the stillness drill, and 1 rule promoted to bold. New long ropes get a weighted pre-stretch before anybody rides them. The deepest single drop on Earth still hangs its 600 meters of quiet dark under the Kanin. The rope only answers stillness. Her club still teaches. So what unwound it? 30 seconds of doing nothing, counted out loud by a voice that wanted to scream, and a notch in a walking stick that took 2 hands to carve that night. The report recorded 4 minutes of spin. She survived every rotation of them.
You're watching Cavern Depths, and this is the second story of the night. On July 12, 2026, Claire Dutton and Thomas Brandt dropped into the Pierre Saint-Martin, the cave that held the title of deepest in the world through the 1950s, a cold labyrinth on the Spanish border whose shafts swallowed the pioneers of vertical caving. Its chambers hold cathedrals. They were climbing out after a 3-day survey camp, 8 pitches, the Big 90, and the long walk to the tunnel entrance. Claire was 44, a rescue instructor from Sheffield with 20 years of expedition rope behind her, who taught the counterweight pickoff every spring and ended every course with the same sentence: "You will never use this, and you will practice it anyway." Thomas was 30, a strong, quiet caver from Dresden on his second Pierre camp, the one who had promised his mother he would text from the surface before midnight, whatever the survey said. Their habit was the spacing rule: 1 caver on the rope at a time, the second clipped out of the fall line on every trip. Stone, Claire liked to say, does not aim, so you make sure it cannot hit too. The Big 90 was rigged clean, its rebelays worn smooth by 70 years of expeditions. What they didn't know: 3 days of camp traffic had walked a fist-sized stone to the lip of a ledge 90 meters up, and it now rested on a slope of 1 degree. The first pitches ran clean, ascenders clicking their steady ratchet, ropes creaking under load, drips clattering into the dark below. Nothing went wrong low down, because low down the mountain had nothing left to drop on them. They reached the Big 90 at hour 5, on schedule. Thomas first on rope, Claire clipped at the base out of the fall line. What they didn't know: his rope, sawing gently across the ledge above, was about to finish what 3 days of boots had started. At 60 meters up, that is when the ledge failed its last degree, because the sawing rope nudged the stone over the lip, and it fell 30 meters onto the one target on the pitch, and the crack of helmet plastic reached Claire before the stone did. The stone shattered beside her boot. Above, the rope creaked, swung, and settled. Thomas hung at 60 meters, upright in his harness, his light steady on the wall, and he did not answer. And for 30 seconds he did not move. Here is what you need to understand about an unconscious caver on rope. The harness holds him, and then it starts to kill him. A motionless, upright hang pools the blood away from the heart, and the clock that matters gives you minutes in the tens, not the hundreds. A rescue team arrives with a stretcher in hours. A partner on the pitch arrives in minutes or not at all. Panic stood at the base of the 90. The rule had failed. Thomas hung silent. The clock was running. The nearest team was 2 pitches and an hour away. Because this is the arithmetic of suspension trauma. Consciousness buys a caver hours in a harness. Unconsciousness buys him maybe 20 minutes, and Claire had already spent 2 of them listening to him not answer. Watch 20 springs of "you will never use this" cash out at once. She jugged to him in 9 minutes, clipped her cowstail through his harness, and rigged the counterweight. her body the moving anchor, his weight against hers, the way the drill is written. She tipped him horizontal to give his heart back its blood, and walked them both down the rope a meter at a time, her voice narrating every move to a man who could not hear it. Put yourself on that rope for 1 minute of it. 90 kilograms of partner breathing shallow against your chest, a descender managing 2 lives through 1 aluminium gate, and the arithmetic of 20 unconscious minutes, 9 already gone, running under everything your hands are doing. Her boots found the floor at minute 16. Tomas came to at minute 19, flat on the stone with his legs raised on a rope bag, asking, in Dresden German, why the ceiling was moving. The camp team walked him out over the next 12 hours, roped, padded and complaining, which the manuals list as an excellent sign. His text reached his mother from the tunnel entrance at 11:30. The expedition report recorded a rockfall strike at 60 meters, a caver unconscious on rope for 19 minutes, and a solo counterweight pickoff executed to the letter of the course his rescuer taught. The concussion cleared in a week. The helmet did not, and it hangs in the Sheffield club hut over one word: practice. The cave that was once the deepest in the world still swallows expeditions into its cathedrals. You will never use this, and you will practice it anyway, Claire still tells her course every spring, and now she points at the helmet when she says it. The report recorded 19 minutes. Tomas survived all of them upside down in someone else's arithmetic. You're watching Cavern Depths, and tonight's final story is the one they still talk about. On February 7th, 2026, Neil Garrity dropped down Lancaster Hole into the 3-county system, the longest cave system in Britain, 90 kilometers of linked passage under the moors where 3 counties meet. It took a century to connect. It takes a lifetime to know. He was leading a club through trip he had done 11 times. In at Lancaster, along the high-level galleries, out at Wretched Rabbit by tea time, 8 cold hours. Neil was 43, a stocky Lancashire caver who had worked these moors caves for 25 years, and who bought the first round at the Martin Arms after every trip, a tradition with his name. His habit was the gap count. The crawl between Stakepot and the high traverse crosses 4 floor holes, slots where the passage floor simply is not, and he counted them off out loud on every trip, 4 seconds each. 4 gaps, he taught the new members, and the 4th one is a liar, because it comes after you think you are done. The crawl was dry, familiar, floored in hard-packed silt over limestone. What he didn't know, the wet winter had opened a 5th hole, a meter wide and clean-edged, in floor that 70 years of survey had always known as solid. The first hours ran clean, helmets scraping the low roof, knee pads hissing over silt, water dripping far away, the 4 known gaps counted off like a catechism. Nothing went wrong at the known gaps, because there everyone slowed and tested. Past the 4th gap he was 90 meters from the traverse, on schedule, moving at the easy speed of a man on his 12th lap, 90 minutes from daylight. What he didn't know: the floor 20 meters ahead of his light was no longer part of the cave. 20 meters past everything he knew, that is when the floor failed, because his leading hand pressed on silt with nothing under it, and the crust folded, and the crawl swallowed him hands first into a drop no survey had drawn. The caver behind him saw his boots go up and his light go down. Then for 3 seconds the crawl was empty, and the sound came up from below the floor, once, and stopped. Here is what you need to understand about a flood-opened hole. It is not a gap, it is a trapdoor. A known gap shows you its edges. A new hole wears the same silt as solid floor, holds a knee for 2 seconds, holds a boot, and opens for the one press that arrives with your weight committed. A caver counts the gaps the cave has shown him. The cave is under no obligation to stop at 4. Panic knelt at the new edge. The floor had failed. Neil was gone. His light lay still. 12 meters down, the crawl was too tight to rig from. Because this is the arithmetic of a 12-meter fall onto breakdown. It is survivable in a harness on a rope, and it is a coin toss head first, and the silence after the one sound had already called the toss. Watch a club do everything right around a hole that should not exist. The second caver did not follow over the edge. She marked it with her own helmet, sent the two behind her running for the surface, and stayed at the lip, talking down into the dark to a light that never moved. The call-out reached the rescue organization in 90 minutes flat, and the moor above grew headlamps in the February dark, 28 of them, converging on a hole no survey carried. Put yourself at that edge for 1 minute of it. A helmet marking a hole that was floor an hour ago, a voice kept level for the two runners who can still hear it, and the arithmetic of a light 12 meters down that has not moved for any of your last 40 calls. The rescue team rigged the new hole from a bolted Y-hang and had a doctor beside Neil 3 hours after the floor let him through. He had fallen headfirst onto breakdown, and the examination confirmed what the stillness of his light had said for 3 hours. They brought Neil Garrity out through Lancaster Hole the next evening, carried by the club he had bought 1,000 rounds for. The inquest ruled death by head injury in an unsurveyed collapse feature and recorded a 5th-floor hole, flood opened that winter, invisible under intact silt until loaded. No fault was found with anyone. The crawl reopened in the spring with a fixed traverse line, 5 reflective markers, and a resurvey stamped across the old page. The longest cave system in Britain still links its 90 kilometers under 3 counties, and the Martin Arms still keeps a glass for him on the high shelf. The cave is under no obligation to stop at 4, the club now teaches. Neil died 12 meters under a floor he had trusted 11 times. The report recorded the 5th gap, and his name went onto the survey beside it. The first round is still his.